Texel stood at the window of his cloaked ship, watching the Earth playground below. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the small humans running around. The slave trader had visited many worlds, but Earth was different. It wasn't part of the Galactic Union, which made it perfect for his business. Such small, soft creatures, he muttered, focusing on a particular child in a blue school uniform. The boy looked about 7 Earth years old, with neat black hair and bright eyes. The child was playing with something called a robot toy, making spaceship sounds as he ran around. Texel checked his data tablet. The boy's name was Hanbin, and he went to Seoul International Elementary School. He seemed perfect, small, well-behaved, and most importantly, alone at the edge of the playground. "Captain, are you sure about this?" his first mate, Rilix, asked from behind him. "We've never taken specimens from this sector before." Texel waved his concerns away with one of his 6 fingers. "Look at them. They're so peaceful. Their biggest weapons are these little plastic toys." He pointed at Hanbin's robot figure. "Besides, their planet isn't even marked as dangerous. Just some backwater world that hasn't discovered proper space travel yet." Rilix shifted uncomfortably. "But sir, the other traders avoid this sector. They say there's something odd about it." Texel laughed, a sound like rocks in a grinder. "Those cowards. They're scared of primitives who still think hover cars are science fiction." He zoomed in on Hanbin with his visual enhancers. The boy was now sitting under a tree, reading a book about space. "This one will fetch a high price," Texel said, rubbing his hands together. "The collectors love exotic specimens, and human children are rare. Look how docile they are. No claws, no poison sacs, not even basic armor plating." He watched as Hanbin packed his bag, getting ready to leave. The boy carefully put away his robot toy and book, then slung the bag over his shoulder. Texel noted how organized the child was, a good sign for training. "Sir," Rilix tried one more time, "shouldn't we at least check the planetary classification archives?" Texel turned all 4 eyes on his first mate. "Why waste time? Look at their cities. They still use primitive combustion vehicles. Their buildings aren't even properly shielded. And their children." He gestured at Hanbin, who was now walking toward the school gate. "Their children play with toys instead of training for survival. This will be the easiest job we've ever done." Rilix sighed and went back to his station. In all his years serving under Texel, he'd learned not to argue when the captain got excited about a new target. Texel began entering coordinates into his ship's computer. He had been watching Hanbin for 3 Earth days now. The boy always walked the same route home, sometimes with his older sister, sometimes alone. Today, the sister was staying late for something called Science Club. Perfect timing, Texel said to himself. He noticed how Hanbin politely bowed to his teachers before leaving. Such good manners. The collectors would definitely pay extra for a well-behaved specimen. What Texel didn't notice was the small device in Hanbin's pocket. He didn't know that the boy's mother was a xenobiologist who had studied alien artifacts, or that his father commanded Earth's secret space defense force. He didn't see the tiny camera in Hanbin's robot toy, or the tracking chip sewn into his school uniform. Most importantly, Texel hadn't bothered to read the small note in the planetary database, recently added by another alien species. It was just 3 words, marked in red. DEATHLUORLD. Extreme CAU2. As Texel prepared his capture equipment, he smiled at his good luck. This would be such an easy job. After all, what could possibly go wrong with kidnapping one small, polite, human child? He was about to find out exactly how wrong things could go. Hanbin walked along the quiet street, kicking small stones as he went. His sister Jai-yun had promised to catch up with him after her science club meeting. He wasn't worried. He had walked this route many times before, and his home was only 10 minutes away. What he didn't know was that 4 eyes were watching him from above. "Target is alone," Texel whispered into his comm unit. "Begin capture sequence." Han Bin stopped to retee his shoelace, placing his backpack on the ground. He heard a strange humming sound but didn't look up. His mother had taught him about alien ships, and he knew exactly what to do if he ever heard that sound. Very slowly, he reached into his pocket and pressed the small button on his robot toy 3 times. In the science lab across town, Dr. Dahai's computer started beeping. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. "Code red," she said, pressing the emergency button under her desk. "Hostile contact with Han Bin." Back on the street, a blue light appeared around Han Bin. He stayed very still, just as his parents had taught him. The light grew brighter, and he felt his feet leaving the ground. "Jai Yun," he called out, not too loudly, but enough to be heard. His sister was already running toward him, having left her science club the moment her watch showed Han Bin's emergency signal. She sprinted around the corner just in time to see her brother floating up toward a shimmer in the air, the outline of a cloaked ship. Jai Yun didn't waste time. She pulled a small silver disc from her pocket and threw it as hard as she could. The disc stuck to the ship's invisible hull with a quiet ping. Her mother had given both children tracking devices, but they never thought they'd actually need to use them. Specimens secured. Relics reported from inside the ship. No witnesses. Texel laughed. "See, I told you it would be easy. These humans don't even look up." But Texel was wrong. Not only had Jai Yun seen everything, but she was already calling their father. "Dad," she said into her phone, trying to keep her voice steady. "They took Han Bin, but I tagged their ship, just like in our practice drills." Commander Ta One was already moving. In his secret office deep beneath the Seoul Space Force base, he activated the emergency protocols. Red lights began flashing throughout the building. "Good work, Jai Yun," he said. "Get home to your mother. We're tracking the ship now." Inside Texel's ship, Han Bin sat quietly in a clear cell. He looked around with wide eyes, taking in every detail. There were other cells too, holding alien children of different shapes and sizes. Some had scales, others had fur, and one even glowed in the dark. "Hello," Han Bin said softly to the alien child next to his cell. "I'm Han Bin." The small furry creature looked at him with 3 green eyes. "I'm Mip," it whispered back. "Are you scared?" Han Bin thought about his answer. His mother had told him that being brave didn't mean not being scared. It meant doing what needed to be done even when you were scared. "A little," he admitted, "but my family will come for me. And when they do," he smiled, remembering all the stories his father had told him about space battles. "When they do, these bad aliens will be very sorry." Texel watched the exchange on his monitors. "See how calm he is," he told Erlix proudly. "Humans must be naturally submissive creatures. This one will be easy to train." But if Texel had studied Earth's children more carefully, he would have known something important. When a human child is being too quiet, they're usually planning something. And Han Bin had a lot of plans. Back on Earth, Commander Ta One's team was already preparing rescue ships. Dr. Dahai arrived at the base with Jai Yun, carrying a tablet full of data about alien ship designs. "The tracking device is working perfectly," Dr. Dahai said, showing her husband the blinking dot moving away from Earth. "They don't know it, but they've just kidnapped the wrong child from the wrong family." Commander Ta One nodded grimly. "Let's show these aliens why Earth is classified as a death world." Tixel's ship was 3 days into its journey when the first problem appeared. The ship's medical eye woke him from sleep with an urgent alert. "Captain," the AI's voice crackled through the speaker, "the human specimen's cell has been damaged." Texel rolled out of his sleeping pod and blinked all 4 eyes. "Damaged? How?" "Those cells can hold creatures 10 times his size." When he reached the holding area, he stopped dead in his tracks. The clear wall of Han Bin's cell had a web of cracks spreading across it. The human child sat in the corner, holding his toy robot, and looking very innocent. "What happened here?" Texel demanded. Hanbin looked up with big eyes. "I was just playing catch," he said, pointing to a small metal ball on the floor. It was part of the cell's feeding system that he had somehow unscrewed from the wall. Texil picked up the ball. There was a small dent in it. "You threw this at the wall." "I was bored," Hanbin said simply. "On Earth, we play games when we're bored." In the next cell, Mip and the other alien children watched with interest. They had never seen anyone damage a containment cell before. Texil turned to Relix, who had just arrived. "Move him to the reinforced cell, the one we use for Category 3 specimens." As two crew members approached with transfer tools, Hanbin stood up. All the alien children gasped. Even Texil took a step back. The human child was smiling. "Can we play a new game?" Hanbin asked as the crew members opened his cell. "On Earth, we have this fun game called tag." What happened next would later be described by Relix as organized chaos. Hanbin darted between the crew members' legs, moving faster than they expected. He ran down the corridor, laughing as they chased him. When they finally cornered him, he climbed up the wall using the pipes and air vents like a jungle gym. "Impossible," Texil shouted. "Their gravity is similar to ours. He shouldn't be able to move like that." It took 4 crew members and a mild stun beam to finally get Hanbin into the reinforced cell. As they locked the door, the ship's medical eye spoke again. "Captain, I must report some unusual readings from the human specimen." Texil rubbed his head. "What now?" "His bone density is far higher than our initial scans showed. His muscle fiber count is off the charts, and his endurance levels." The AI paused. "Sir, he's been awake for 72 hours straight, and his energy levels are still rising." In his new cell, Hanbin sat cross-legged on the floor. He was teaching the other children a clapping game through the walls. The sound echoed through the holding area. Clap, clap, stomp, clap. "Sir," Relix said quietly, "perhaps we should check that planetary database now." But Texil waved him away. "It's just a phase. All new specimens act out at first. He'll calm down once he realizes he can't escape." Just then, Hanbin's voice rang out. "Mr. Alien, sir, can I have some paper and colors? I want to draw pictures of my home for my new friends." Texil thought for a moment. Drawing seemed harmless enough. Give him what he wants. Keep him quiet and occupied. That night, as the ship's lights dimmed for sleep cycle, Hanbin sat in his cell with papers spread around him. But he wasn't drawing pictures of his home. Instead, he was making detailed maps of the ship's layout, based on what he had seen during his game of tag. The other alien children watched in fascination as he held up each drawing, teaching them about the ship's different sections using simple hand signals they had created together. In the control room, Texil watched the security feeds and smiled, pleased to see his valuable specimen finally settling down. He didn't notice that his ship's once frightened cargo of alien children now moved with purpose, their eyes bright with new confidence as they watched their human friend work. 1 week had passed since Hanbin's capture, and strange things were happening on Texil's ship. The security team reported several accidents in different areas. Tools went missing. Food packets disappeared from the kitchen, and the alien children were acting different. "Sir," Relix said, showing Texil the security feeds. "Watch this." On the screen, the alien children were doing something odd during their exercise time. Instead of their usual quiet walking, they were running, jumping, and climbing like Hanbin had shown them. "They're playing Earth games," Relix explained. "The human calls this one military training obstacle course." Texil watched as a small, scaly child swung from pipe to pipe across the exercise yard. "They're just copying him. It means nothing." Then the ship's lights flickered. "Chief Engineer reports another power surge in Section 6, the ship's AI announced. That's the 5th one this week." Texil slammed his fist on the control panel. "How? The human is locked in the reinforced cell. He can't possibly be causing these problems." But he was wrong. Han Bin had discovered something important. The other alien children had special skills of their own. Mip could squeeze through tiny spaces. The scaly child, Keet, could climb anywhere. The glowing child, Lumi, could see in the dark. And all of them listened to Han Bin's stories about Earth games with great interest. In his cell, Han Bin sat with his latest drawings spread around him. The guards thought he was drawing pictures of Earth animals, but really, he was teaching the others about Earth's most dangerous creature, the house cat. See, he whispered to his friends in the next cells, cats knock things over. They hide in small spaces. They appear where you don't expect them. And they never get caught. The alien children nodded, understanding perfectly. That afternoon, 3 more power surges hit the ship. 20 tools vanished from the repair bay. And someone had written Earth numbers all over the walls, counting down from 100. Sir, a guard burst into the control room. The specimen in cell block C is singing. Texel rushed to the holding area. Han Bin sat in his cell, singing a cheerful Earth song about wheels on a bus. All the other children joined in, each in their own way. The sound echoed through the ship's halls. Make them stop, Texel ordered. But as soon as one song ended, another began. This time about a spider climbing up a water spout. What's wrong with singing? Han Bin asked innocently. We always sing in school. Want to learn the ant song next? It's about marching. Texel noticed something disturbing. The alien children were moving in time with the music, like they were practicing, training, getting stronger. Back in the control room, Rilix showed him more security footage. The accidents aren't random, sir. Look at this pattern. The missing tools, the power surges, the countdown numbers, they all made a path through the ship, a path that led to the main control room. Impossible, Texel whispered. He's just a child. They're all just children. Just then, Han Bin's voice came through the ship's speakers. Somehow, he had gotten access to the communication system. Red light, he shouted happily. All across the ship, the alien children froze in place. Green light. They moved again, each one doing a specific task they had practiced. Texel watched in horror as his perfectly organized ship descended into what looked like chaos. But it wasn't chaos at all. It was a game. A game with very specific rules and goals. Sir, Rilix said quietly, I checked the planetary database. Earth is classified as a death world, and there's a special note about their young. What does it say? Texel asked, not taking his eyes off the security feeds. It says, warning, human children do not play. They practice. In his cell, Han Bin smiled as he started another round of songs. He knew his parents were coming. Until then, he would keep teaching his new friends how Earth children play their games. After all, his father always said that the best military strategies looked just like children's games to those who didn't know better. Texel couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard singing. The human child had taught all the others Earth songs, and now they never stopped. Even the ship's walls seemed to hum with their music. Captain, the ship's eye spoke, waking him from his troubled thoughts. We have another situation. Texel groaned. What now? The kitchen reports all their sweet foods are missing. And someone has built structures in the ventilation system. Texel hurried to the security room. The screen showed something that made his 4 eyes widen in shock. The ventilation system had been turned into what looked like a giant playground. Ropes made from stolen bedsheets connected different parts of the ship. Small platforms made from storage containers were hidden in corners. How? He demanded. The human is still in his cell. The camera switched to Han Bin's cell. The human child sat there, playing with his robot toy. But something was different. Texel looked closer and realized the truth. The robot toy had been taken apart and put back together. Now it had parts from the cell's control panel mixed in. Sir, Rilix reported, rushing in. 3 more crew members have requested transfer. They say they keep hearing children's laughter in empty rooms. Texil switched between security feeds. In each one, he saw alien children moving with purpose. They weren't scared anymore. They moved like a trained team. Suddenly, all the screens went dark. "Don't worry," Han Bin's voice came through the speakers. "This is just part of the game. We call it Lights Out on Earth." When the screens came back on, everything had changed. The alien children had switched cells. Somehow, they had figured out how to open and close the doors during the blackout. "Impossible," Texil shouted. "Those doors have genetic locks." "Sir," the ship's AI interrupted. "You should see this." A new image appeared on the main screen. It showed Han Bin's drawings spread out on his cell floor, but now Texil saw them differently. They weren't just pictures. They were maps, plans, and instructions, all disguised as children's art. "He's been teaching them," Relix whispered. "All this time, while we thought he was just drawing." Texil grabbed the ship's announcer. "Listen, human child. This is not a game. You are my prisoner." Han Bin's laugh echoed through the ship. "But Mr. Alien, everything is a game if you play it right. Want to try hide and seek next? I'm really good at that one." As if on cue, the lights went out again. This time, when they came back on, all the cells were empty. "Security teams to all decks," Texil ordered. "Find them." But the security teams reported strange things. Every time they got close to catching one child, another would appear somewhere else. They were using the ventilation system like a giant maze. The missing sweet foods had been turned into sticky traps in doorways. "They're everywhere," a guard reported, his voice shaking. "And nowhere. Just like cats," Relix finished, remembering Han Bin's drawings. He taught them to move like Earth predators. In the darkness of the ventilation system, Han Bin gathered his friends around him. Mipt, Keet, Lumi, and all the others listened closely as he taught them a new Earth game. "This one is called Capture the Flag," he explained, pointing to his latest map. "And the flag we want is in the control room." Texil sat in his captain's chair, jumping at every sound. His ship didn't feel like his anymore. It had become a playground, a training ground, and a battlefield, all because of one small human child who turned everything into a game. "Sir," Relix said softly, "I think we need to consider calling for help." But they both knew it was too late. The hunter had become the hunted, and somewhere in the ship's shadows, a 7-year-old Deathworlder was teaching his friends how to win. Commander Taiwan's rescue fleet dropped out of hyperspace behind a small moon. 3 Earth ships, painted dark blue to blend with space, moved silently toward Texil's vessel. "Status report," Taiwan ordered, standing on his bridge. His wife, Dr. Dahai, worked at a computer next to him, studying the alien ship's design. "The tracking device is still working perfectly," she said. "And look at these energy readings from their ship. Something very interesting is happening in there." The alien ship's power levels kept jumping up and down, like someone was playing with the controls. Taiwan smiled, knowing his son was probably behind it. "Sir," a crew member called out, "we're picking up strange audio signals from the target ship. It sounds like singing." Through the speakers came the faint sound of children singing, "The Ants Go Marching." But it wasn't just one voice. It was many voices, some not even human. "That's our boy," Dahai said proudly. "He's got them all working together." Just then, their daughter Jai-yun, who had insisted on coming along, pointed at her screen. "Dad, Mom, look. The alien ship's defense systems are shutting down one by one." Inside Texil's ship, chaos ruled. The captain and his crew had locked themselves in the bridge, but strange things kept happening. The doors would open and close by themselves. The lights flashed in patterns, and through the air vents came the sound of children giggling. "Status report," Texil demanded. "Sir," Relix said, checking the systems, "someone has put sticky food in all the weapon controls." The security cameras show nothing but Earth cartoons, and all our emergency pods have been redecorated with drawings. Suddenly, Han Bin's voice came through the speakers again. Red light. He called out. Everything on the bridge stopped working. Green light. The systems came back on, but now they showed different settings. He's in the control systems, Rilix whispered. But how? He's just a child. A Deathworlder child. Texel corrected, finally understanding his mistake. We should have checked the database first. On the main screen, a message appeared in big letters. Knock, knock. Before Texel could respond, the whole ship shook. Commander Taiwan's fleet had arrived. This is Earth Space Force. Taiwan's voice boomed through all channels. You have my son. I suggest you surrender. Texel reached for the weapons control, but found it covered in something sticky and sweet. What is this? He asked. Honey. Han Bin's voice answered cheerfully. I learned about it in science class. It never goes bad. And it's really hard to clean. The ship shook again as the Earth forces moved closer. But they didn't need to fire anymore. The alien ship's defense systems were completely disabled, thanks to Han Bin and his new friends. In the ventilation system, Han Bin gave his final instructions to the other children. Remember, he said, just like we practiced. Operation Home Alone starts now. Across the ship, all the alien children moved into position. They had spent days preparing traps, just like in Han Bin's favorite Earth movies. Now it was time to use them. Sir, Rilix reported to Texel, the Earth ships are boarding us. But our crew, they're refusing to fight. Why? Texel demanded. They say they're more scared of what the children have planned than the Earth soldiers. Commander Taiwan led the boarding party himself, with Dr. Dahai and Jia Yun close behind. But as they moved through the ship, they found most of the work was already done. The alien crew members were trapped in rooms sealed with makeshift locks, covered in various sticky substances, or hiding in corners to avoid the children's elaborate traps. And in the middle of it all, they heard Han Bin's voice counting down. 3, 2, 1. Ready or not, here comes Earth. Commander Taiwan found Texel and his officers trapped in their own bridge. The door was sealed with a mix of honey and some alien glue, and strange music played from all the speakers. Inside, the alien crew sat very still, afraid to touch anything. What did my son do to your ship? Taiwan asked, trying not to smile. Texel looked up from his sticky captain's chair. Your son turned my entire ship into something he calls a playground. Do you know what that is? Of course, Dr. Dahai said, checking her tablet. It's where Earth children practice their survival skills through games. Just then, Han Bin's voice echoed through the ship again. Mom, Dad, Jia Yun, did you see what we did? I made so many new friends. The ventilation cover above them popped open. Han Bin's head appeared, followed by Mip, Keet, Lumi, and all the other alien children. They dropped down one by one, using the ropes they had made from bedsheets. Look, Han Bin said proudly. I taught them how to make rope bridges like in my scout handbook. And Mip can squeeze through any space, and Keet can climb anything, and Lumi helped us see in the dark. Texel watched in amazement as the once shy alien children moved with confidence, showing off their new skills to the Earth rescue team. I don't understand, Texel said. We checked the basic planetary data. Earth wasn't listed as dangerous. Your technology is primitive. Your buildings are simple. Your children play with toys. Dr. Dahai pulled up the complete galactic database on her tablet. You didn't read the full entry, did you? Let me show you. She turned the screen so everyone could see. Planet, Earth, Heliosification, DDATHVORLD, Extreme CIOGen, Special Notice. Species develops advanced survival skills from earliest age through activity called play. Warning: What appears to be recreation is actually combat training. Examples: hide and seek equals stealth training. Tag equals pursuit and evasion practice. Climbing frames equals vertical combat training. Building blocks equals engineering practice. Sports equals war games. Board games equals strategy training. Young humans are more dangerous than adults. They are creative, adaptable, and have not yet learned fear. Texel read the screen with all four eyes wide open. But he was just playing games. There are no just games on Earth. Commander Taiwan explained. Everything is practice. Every game teaches something. And Han Bin is one of the best players in his class. Han Bin beamed with pride. I got the highest score and capture the flag at school. That's why it was so easy to take over your ship. We played it just like at school, except your ship had better hiding places. Relix, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. The toy robot. It wasn't just a toy, was it? Han Bin held up his robot, now mixed with parts from the ship's systems. Mom teaches me about alien technology, and Dad teaches me about spaceships. I just put them together, like a puzzle. A puzzle, Texel repeated weakly. Another game. Everything's a game if you know how to play it right, Han Bin said, then turned to his alien friends. Want to show them our special victory dance? I taught them the hokey pokey. As the children began to dance and sing, Dr. Dehai looked at the ship's systems. He's actually rewired the entire control system through his toy robot. That's very advanced work, honey. Well, Han Bin said, you always say that the best way to learn is through play. Texel slumped in his chair, finally understanding. He hadn't captured a simple child. He had kidnapped a young Deathworlder who turned his ship into a training ground and his other captives into a skill team. And now, as he watched the Earth child lead his alien friends in their victory dance, Texel realized he had learned the most important lesson of all. Never underestimate a species that turns survival training into child's play. 1 month after the rescue, Texel stood before the Galactic Council. The large room was filled with representatives from many alien worlds, all waiting to hear about the human child who had turned a slave ship into a playground. Tell us, the head counselor said, how did one small human defeat your entire crew? Texel had practiced this speech many times. Honored Council, I made a terrible mistake. I thought I was capturing a simple child. Instead, I took a young Deathworlder who saw my ship as a training ground. The council chamber buzzed with whispers. On a large screen behind Texel, they showed pictures of his ship after Han Bin's games. Honey and alien glue still stuck to many surfaces. The ventilation system looked like a giant jungle gym. And drawings covered the walls, each one a hidden map or plan. But the most important thing, Texel continued, was what he did with the other children. He didn't just escape. He taught them how to be strong. The council watched video clips from the ship's security cameras. They saw alien children moving like Earth predators, working together like a trained team, and turning everyday items into tools and weapons, all while singing Earth songs and playing Earth games. Because of this, the head counselor announced, we are adding a new warning to Earth's file, not just about the planet being a death world, but about their children specifically. The new warning appeared on the screen. Critical UPDAT. Human children are extreme survival specialists. They turn all activities into training. Their games are not games. Their toys are not toys. Their songs can be battle signals. Their drawings can be battle plans. Extreme caution, advised. In another part of the galaxy, those same alien children were returning to their home worlds. But they were very different now. They walked with confidence. They looked for hiding places everywhere. They taught their friends Earth games. Soon, reports came from various planets. Children building rope bridges between trees. Young ones practicing stealth games. Kids turning simple objects into tools. Groups working together like military units. All because one human child had shown them how to turn survival into play. Back on Earth, Hanbin sat in his bedroom, surrounded by screens. His parents had helped him set up special communication devices to talk with his alien friends. They called it intergalactic playdate time. And then you pull the rope like this. He showed them through the screen, teaching a new climbing technique, just like we did on the ship. Mit, Keat, Lumi, and all the others watched carefully, copying his movements. They still sang Earth songs together and played Earth games, but now they did it from their own homes, safe and free. Texel, as part of his punishment, had to write a book. He called it Never Kidnap Deathworlder Children, an alien's survival guide. It became required reading for all space travelers, especially those dealing with Earth. The book's first page showed a simple drawing, the same one Hanbin had made of a house cat. Under it, Texel wrote, "Warning. Human children are like their planet's cats. They look small and cute. They seem to just play. But they are actually practicing to be perfect predators. If you see a human child playing, run in. If you have already captured one, surrender immediately." Commander Tawan and Dr. Dahai were very proud of their son. They hung his ship drawings in their offices. His sister Jai-yun told everyone about how her little brother took over an alien ship by playing games. And Hanbin, he just kept playing, teaching, and making friends across the galaxy. After all, as he always said, everything's more fun when you play together. But somewhere in the vast universe, whenever alien smugglers and pirates heard about Earth children, they quickly flew their ships in the opposite direction. Because now everyone knew, never, ever kidnap a child from Earth. They won't just escape, they'll turn your whole ship into their playground and teach everyone else how to play their very dangerous games.